For example, he asked me what my fantasy was. And I got this look on my face. And I said, well, a fantasy would be, I guess, a menage with me and you and somebody else. And he was like, another woman? I said, no, with another guy. And he was like, really? He was like, do you have an idea as to who this guy is? I said, yeah. He's like, really? You have to tell me. I said, it's your best friend.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. Stay away from the video vixen. Stay away from the chicks who want to climb up the Hollywood ladder.
And I expected him to maybe slap me. I don't know what.
I mean, hey.
But he threw his head back and roared with laughter. And I was like, wow, that was not the response I was expecting. And he said, do you want me to make that happen? I was like, oh my God, that is so sweet. No, absolutely not. It is just a fantasy. It is meant to stay there. But just the fact that you are open to it and don't make me feel shame for feeling this way. He was like, why would I make you feel that way?
So listen up, guys. Listen up. Listen up. This is another very pivotal moment. This right here is the type of non-judgmental space that modern women desire. This is what they want. They don't want there to be a structure of how life works, right? And also other men who are what they would call themselves more progressive. If you're somebody who values more traditional norms when it comes to relationships, then you might think, okay, there's an ideal type of way to do things. And the more you veer out of that, right, the more you're thinking of fantasizing, because let's keep it real. Everybody has fantasies. We're going to keep it real here on the Coffee Pod. Everybody has fantasies, but to voice it out and to not get judged or to dress the way I want, not get judged, or to have a 304 past, not get judged, that's a perfect world for a woman. No judgment. Just accept me for who I am. No matter what I do, a modern woman wants no accountability. Nothing. Zero. Right? But you, my friend, you mess up out here in this life. You don't rise up to the expectation of who you're supposed to be as a man. In society, they'll definitely tell you where you fall and where you place, where you fall in the totem pole. This is the delusion of modern women. Oh my goodness, he didn't judge me. This man is perfect.
And Tony, I don't know. He maybe he was just an anomaly, but wherever we would go, no matter how scantily I was dressed, he would let me move around the party as I felt the need to and interact with anybody. And he would just sit there and just watch me with a smile. And at one point, somebody stood next to him and asked him, like, aren't you afraid to let her walk around like that? And he was like, absolutely not. She's going home with me. I don't have anything to be worried about. And
we all know a dude who says that. Like, bro, we've all smashed, right? Well, I don't care, bro. She goes home with me, bro. Jeez, cut that dude off. Nah, you don't have to cut your friends off. It's a bit too much.
You want to know something? He was absolutely right. His level of confidence and knowing that I had eyes for nobody but him was what made him so much more sexy to me, so much more attractive, and made me like and love him so much more. I wish that I could say that the vast majority of my relationships went like this, but they didn't.
Let me remind you once again, this is that. You're insecure if you don't want her to go on girls' trips. If she can dress as scantily as she wants and you have a problem with it, then you're insecure. I don't care if you call me insecure. Get out here and stand for what you believe in and value as a man. Don't allow these chicks. So what? You think I'm insecure? What does that do? People allow words to really, really affect them a bit too much.
I was raised as an only child. My father was a Rolling Stone, and I am the youngest of 11. But I am my mother's only child, and I was raised in a two-parent household, just me on my own. I used to wish constantly for a brother and a sister or a twin. It was around 6 when I figured out the twin thing was not going to happen. But I really wanted a brother or a sister because I was lonely. And I was smack in the middle of a very tumultuous marriage. Some of my earliest memories as a child are of my parents arguing and physically each other. At one point, I was 5 and I got in the middle of my parents physically each other. My mom was holding a glass pitcher above her head and was prepared to on my dad's head. And I want to say that this was in defense of herself. This was her protecting herself.
Wow.
So needless to say, my first introduction to marriage and how men and women, the expectation of how they interact with each other on a romantic level was very, 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 very traumatizing.
Right.
And they didn't do anything to try to correct it. They didn't sit me down and explain things to me or apologize to me. I think that that's something that parents really miss the mark on a lot of the time, is that you are not perfect. You are human. And to be a human being is to err. And sometimes you do things to unintentionally harm your children or traumatize them, and they deserve an explanation and they deserve an apology. When my parents were not arguing with each other, they were staying as far away from each other as possible. And what that meant was I was left home alone a lot.
Okay, so this explains the father situation I was talking about earlier. Yeah, there's a difference between a father and a father who's present in your life. She says he was a Rolling Stone. You know, the like actual definition of that is someone who is all over the place and isn't settled down. So she didn't have a present father in her life.
So one of the main reasons why my parents never said no to me when I wanted another animal. I had nothing but cats and dogs and birds and fish all over the house. I feel like animals saved me. It sounds strange. Like I'm like, you know, Mowgli or something from the, what's that book called? The Jungle Book? Yeah, I'm Mowgli from the Jungle Book. But yeah, that was my reality. My parents would come home late at night. The animals were the ones that took care of me. Thankfully, I didn't burn down the house. But this left an imprint on my brain as to the way that men and women interact with each other. And it left me with a very serious internalized distrust of men. I think that this is where I developed the disconnect of wanting to create progeny. You know, I just did not feel that urge like other women have to have children.
I just want to also really point out that when you decide to procreate with another human being, when you're out here, whether you're a man or a woman and you're not protecting your seed, you're a woman, you're not protecting your womb, understand that the consequences are far-reaching. It goes beyond just you. Here's a perfect example. You know, her parents were not healthy. And this is not to say, because here's the people don't understand nuance, right? Are you saying she should have never been born? Relax, please calm down. What I'm saying is understand that the person you choose, if you are at this moment and you're lucky enough to not have made the mistake of picking somebody who's putting you through that type of hell and giving them your womb as a woman, or if you're a man out here and you're just planting seeds all over the place and not realizing the chicks who you're dealing with could be the end of you, then you could end up in this exact same situation. But even worse than that, your children will also suffer. The next generation also suffers. And that will be acknowledged whether people, at least on the coffee pod, like it or not. People need to talk about that more. A lot of trauma is experienced when people are young. In fact, a lot of trauma that people deal with when they're older usually comes from shit that they dealt with when they were younger. Because that's the age where things, you're not able to ration things out in your head. And you're not able to realize that, like, oh, this isn't normal until you go out and you're exposed to more and you're like, okay, so that was crazy. All right, let's keep listening.
And it is definitely intertwined with what I witnessed from a very early age as to my parents and their dysfunction. I ended up getting an IUD implanted in my uterus. And when I say that sucker was Fort Knox, nothing was getting through that mofo. And it stayed in so long that it ultimately made the decision for me. But yet again, it's not like I felt any source of pressure.
Wait a second. What does she mean by made the decision for you? As in the IUD made it so that she can't have children? Let me look this up. Miss Coffee, can an IUD, if it stays too long in a woman, make her infertile?
An intrauterine device IUD is generally safe and highly effective for contraception, but if left in place beyond the recommended duration, it could potentially lead to complications. While rare, these complications might increase the risk of fertility issues.
Did I hear that wrong? Because it sounds like that's what she was alluding to there when she said that very quickly.